For the first time in 30 years, foreign central banks are holding more gold than US treasuries. Also, gold is hitting all-time high, Bitcoin is hitting all-time high, while the dollar value is decreasing month by month. I think we should start worrying because these two are the potential currency replacement for the US dollar. People are accelerating on ditching the US dollar in 2025. What will happen if we continue in this pace for the next 5 to 10 years? Also, China started a new plan to kill the dollar slowly, and what the US is doing about it. I will answer all these questions in this video.
My name is Mohammed. I started investing 6 years ago when I took a huge hit and lost all my money on crypto because I was buying meme coins hoping they will be the next Bitcoin like everyone else. I learned my lesson the hard way. In the year 2020, I started investing instead of gambling. I started buying value stocks at good times and analyze undervalued stocks, and that's when I doubled my money in 2021. And in 2022, I bought these stocks at these prices and doubled my money again by 2024. I went from 5 figures to 6 figures in only 4 years. And now I bought these stocks at these prices as I think they will double in the next 3 years. The mission of this channel is to hit our first $1 million together. I'll be sharing what stocks I buy in the upcoming days, and I will give you a weekly update about my portfolio. Currently, I'm sitting at $206,000. Let's start.
So the question is why people are accelerating in ditching the US dollar in 2025. This is the main question, right? One of the main reasons is the US national debt that has currently passed $35 trillion. When debt is very high, people are worrying that the US might have to inflate it away by printing more money like what happened in 2021 or 2020, which can weaken the dollar. For example, if the US owes $1 trillion and inflation makes the dollar worth less, then they can repay the debt with weaker dollars. It is like borrowing in strong dollars and repaying with weaker dollars. This is good for government and the national debt, but this can hurt normal people like you and me because savings lose value because each dollar buys less now. Not only that, but also prices go up like food, groceries, rents, gas. So people are now smarter. They started ditching the US dollar and buy gold and Bitcoin instead. And this is one of the reasons why we see gold and Bitcoin is hitting all-time high. Another reason why people are accelerating on ditching the US dollar is because people don't want to repeat the same mistake that what happened in COVID. People are smarter now. What happened during COVID left a bad mark on people's mind. So because of what happened during COVID, trillions were printed, which caused inflation spikes. People came out of COVID and all prices are suddenly almost doubled, like rents, groceries, you name it. Savings remained the same during that time. Gold and Bitcoin during that time skyrocketed, so people don't want to repeat the same mistake now. I think if COVID did not happen, then the story will just change just a little bit. I think many people will start not ditching the dollar, or the process of ditching the dollar will be not as fast. But what if we continue with the fast pace of ditching the US dollar for the 5 to 10 years? What will happen? Well, this is my personal assumption. Here's what I think is going to happen. Let's fast forward 10 years into the future, and now it is 2035. The US national debt isn't 35 trillion anymore. It crossed $50 trillion. Every year, the government is spending more just on interest payments than on defense or education or healthcare. The government is not cutting spending. Instead, it keeps printing new money to stay afloat. For everyday people like you and me, life feels more expensive, and the $5 coffee is not going to cost $5 anymore like back in 2025. It's going to go up and it's going to cost $8 right now. Same thing for rent, same thing for gas. You can project it. Meanwhile, countries around the world have grown tired on relying only on the US dollars. Trades between Asia, Africa, South America are more in a local currency or through digital payment system. Central banks around the world piled into gold. Gold doubled in price or even tripled since 2025. The US dollar hasn't collapsed. It's still one of the world's main currencies, but it's no longer the only one. Instead, we live in a multipolar world where gold, euro, Chinese yuan, Bitcoin are dominating with the US dollar. And for regular people, those who trusted only the US dollar, have saw their savings eaten away. But those who diversified their portfolio into gold, real estate, Bitcoin, and other currencies managed to protect their wealth. This is the risk we face in the US dollar if we continue on the same path for the next 5 to 10 years. Not a sudden collapse, but a slow bleeding of the US dollar's power and the steady rise of gold and alternatives. Now, let's come back to 2025. Into the next question. So China is currently working on a new plan to slowly kill the US dollar. What is this plan? What is China's new plan to kill the US dollar? Just yesterday, it was announced that China is easing gold trade rules. What does it mean? Right now, you need a license every time you need to import gold to China. Not anymore. This rule allows companies to import gold multiple times using only one license. Gold can enter through more cities or ports, speeding up the trade. This gives us an indication about where China is heading. It is diversifying away from the US dollar. Right now, a lot of China's reserve in the US treasuries. If the US imposes sanctions like what happened to Russia or print more money causing inflation, China's dollar asset lose value just like everyone else. By holding more gold, China now has an asset that no country can control. Also, by buying more gold, China signals to other countries we don't need to rely on the US dollar anymore. This will encourage BRICS countries and Asian nations to follow the same path. Imagine if not only one, but the second, or third, and fourth country starts to follow China's path. The global demand for the US dollar will weaken over time. This is a big step into de-dollarization. Look at this graph. This graph is really interesting because it summarizes where we are heading from here. It basically shows us which assets the world's central banks hold as a reserve from 1900 up until 2025. It tells us what we'll trust the most to store value at different points in history. Gold is the one at the bottom with the goldish color, and the red one in the middle is the US dollar. You can clearly see the dominance of the US dollar from 1993 up until 2020. And then after 2020, the story changed just a little bit. The goldish bars start to raise again. The world trusts gold more and ditch the US dollar, and it's clearly moving away from the dollar. From dollar only dominance to dollar plus gold plus alternative, where Bitcoin falls under alternatives. To avoid losing your savings, always buy assets like stocks, for example, and build a great portfolio. But if you wonder how many stocks you should have in your portfolio to be wealthy in 10 or 20 years, watch this video where I talked about how many stocks you should have in your portfolio.